How much money should your man make a year, Heather?
8 figures.
8 figures. Okay, so that's $10 million.
Yeah.
How much do you want your man to make?
I would like a successful entrepreneur who is making more money than me.
The minimum baseline
Minimum.
is 6-figure man. Minimum.
Yeah.
You guys are comfortable with being delusional.
Absolutely.
I'm not delusional. I've dated a guy whose house was 8 figures.
Now, if that guy makes $10-20 million a year, how comfortable would you be if he cheated on you every once in a while? Not all the time, but once a year. Heather, I love you, baby, but I'm going on a business trip. By the way, I made $10 million this year. You like your G-Wagon that you're driving.
I mean,
you like the mansion.
That's how it is.
So you're okay with that?
I agree that is how it is. But
Ooh.
there's a payoff for everything.
So you are comfortable with it?
If I'm driving a G-Wagon, I'd rather cry in a G-Wagon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Talk Podcast. Today, I chose this clip because I think it is a great example for some of the few things that I would like to address. Beforehand, I want to say that obviously this is not everyone, but there's a great majority, there's a great number of people, of women who think like this, who would follow along with this. And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just trying to share what is going on and create understanding. So the reason why I felt the need to clarify this is because when we talk about women sharing a man, most likely the answer you would get from most women is no. They would not sign up for that, sharing a man, especially they would not sign up for a man cheating and still stay in that relationship. Well, here's what I'm trying to address. For some women, which I think are quite a lot of women, it always depends on who that man is. And in one of my previous episodes, I have talked about how, the topic itself was slightly different, but it has a general, overall, the same message. What I'm trying to say is that in the previous episode, I talked about how certain women would still follow and pursue a man who they do know is promiscuous, has a high body count, all that stuff. He is known for not being the most faithful, but they will still follow and try to get with him, try to, get into a relationship with him, ignoring all the so-called red flags, but because his status, his social status, and obviously his financial status are high enough that they are much more comfortable to look the other way. So I'm going to add the clip again, and then from there on, slice it up a bit more and explain my point of view on certain things that have been said in this short clip.
How much money should your man make a year, Heather?
8 figures.
8 figures. Okay, so that's $10 million.
Yeah.
How much do you want your man to make?
I would like a successful entrepreneur who is making more money than me.
The minimum baseline
Minimum.
is 6-figure man. Minimum.
Yeah.
You guys are comfortable with being delusional.
Absolutely.
I'm not delusional. I've dated a guy whose house was 8 figures.
So let's try and unpack this for a bit. I personally don't have any issue with whatever someone else want for themselves, want in their lives, what they require in a relationship. That is for you, right? You can dream about everything. You can want certain things. It's not going to affect me, but reality is you can want whatever you want. The question is always, can you get it, and how are you going to get it, and what does it take for you to get it? What are you going to have to bring to the table? What are you going to have to sacrifice maybe for you to get that, whatever it is that you're looking for, that you want? So to make it more understandable, I like to take the idea of looking for a job we all understand that whatever type of job or career path you are looking to get into, it's going to ask for certain requirements towards you. So you are putting effort and time, you're looking for that company, you're looking out for that job. Now they have certain requirements on you. If you bring those requirements, the chances of you getting that job is now higher. But obviously, that company is not just only waiting for you to show up. There are going to be other people who are trying to get the job as well, with possibly the same exact qualifications or even higher and better qualifications. They might have more experience and in general just bring more to the table. They can offer more to the company. So now you are competing. So now these women want someone who's making above 6 figures, actually 8 figures, $10 million a year, which is a very high amount of money. And, you know, even when we talk about 100,000 a year, people don't really see how small that pool is already of people who make 100,000 a year. Not to talk about people who make $1 million a year. And now we're trying to get to people who are making $10 million a year. So the part where the host is telling them, it seems like you both are comfortable being delusional, is something that women nowadays, or, you know, women for years now, for decades now, are finding harder and harder to understand, because we've been sold this idea of you can have it all, you can have whatever you want, you're the prize. These high earning men are really just waiting for you to show up, and, you know, they're just going to follow along and give you all that they have. But that is not realistic, right? The likelihood of you meeting someone that makes that kind of money is very small, because these people, they move in different circles. Now, I don't know these women in person. I don't know what they're doing, but I have seen other videos, and I think they are all in the adult entertainment business, which is already something that's going to make it harder for you to attract that kind of man. Because if you're looking to build a family with that kind of man, and I'm not just, you know, not just having fun and having a fling, but really being in a stable, committed relationship, someone like that might have certain requirements on you, because they're not only here to fulfill your needs, but they also have requirements and preferences. And not only that, they have a whole reputation that they have been building up for years to get to that position that they are in life. Do they really want to risk it for someone who, okay, we might argue that they look good, fine. Obviously, people make their own choices. But are people who make that kind of money, who have worked hard, who have, you know, had to build a certain reputation, are going to risk that for someone who's in the adult industry? I don't really think so. So it is quite delusional for women to think, I just exist. I don't know where these men are. I don't know what the requirements of these men are. I also might not be honest to myself that these men have more options, because if you're looking for that kind of guy, guess what? There are going to be hundreds of other girls who are looking to get in a relationship with that kind of guy, because women don't like to say it, but we are definitely attracted to status and financial status even more. That's why you might see, oh, some girls are going to say, oh, he's unattractive, this and that, and look at him, look at that. As soon as they see the credit card, the car he's driving, the house he lives in, all these other things are not going to be that big of an issue anymore, because we are attracted to certain things in a man, which is his status, his social status, his financial status, his leadership, and all that good stuff. So is it delusional? I would say it is delusional, because you're not putting any effort to get into that man or with that kind of man. You're just sitting there hoping, talking a good game, maybe because you have been used to getting a lot of attention from men in general due to what you're doing on the internet, and also maybe, you know, the simping and the validation that women get nowadays due to social media, where you just put yourself out there and you have a bunch of people validating how good you look and you go girl and all that stuff has kind of got into your head, and now you believe you can have it all, but that is not how life works, right? So that's just one part of the gist. The other thing I'd like to address is I hear this a lot from women, younger women, just, nowadays you just hear so many things that us women say and it really doesn't make sense. But I think a lot of us don't really think about what we say. We just say it because it feels good in the moment, right? You don't really look at the ups and downs. You don't really look at the outcome. And what I'd like to address is this idea of, oh, I can get a guy who makes 6 figures because I've dated one before. I can get a guy who makes 8 figures because I've dated one before and his house was worth 8 figures. Okay, fine. You were entertaining that guy sexually. You guys had a fling, but where did it lead you to, right? So it doesn't really count. Nobody cares about that. And if you say that out loud while being in a show that you're trying to actually put yourself out there to maybe attract the right man, that is not a plus, right? Nobody wants to hear that. You've been entertaining men who make that kind of money, but then what did you end up with? Nothing. So meaning to a man's ear, that just sounds like, oh, she's a fun girl, right? We impress her with a bit of money. We impress her with a bit of nice cars, flashy things. She's going to follow along. You have a good time and that's it. So this idea that women like to brag about, oh, I've dated a guy who makes that kind of money. Oh, I actually deal with men who make that kind of money, is not really a good look because, okay, he still has that money. What do you have, right? He still has his house and who he is going to stay. But what did you get out of that? The only thing that really counts is if you got married to that guy, right? You were able to attract a high value man, but you also kept him. But women nowadays, they think it's the same thing. It's on a equal scale if they are sleeping with these men and comparing themselves to a woman who's married to that kind of man. It is not the same thing. Actually, girl, you're losing. It doesn't make sense saying that out loud. You being able to go on a date with a guy that makes 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, okay, that's cool. But what actually did it change in your life? Nothing. You had a great dinner, you had a nice experience, and that's it. So it's not really something that other people can say, and yeah, okay, she knows how it works. She really, she's in that great relationship. She brings certain qualities into that man's life that he thought, I cannot let her go. I need to keep her on my side. I need to make her a wife. I need to build something with her, Obviously not. So now here is where we get to the interesting part of what I wanted to really talk about. And look, guys, I'm not advocating for people cheating because I can see how women are going to put words into my mouth and saying, yeah, so you're telling us that we should be fine with a guy cheating or we should be fine with men having multiple women. I'm not saying any of that because at the end of the day, it is a choice that you and that other person are going to make, right? I don't have anything to do with that. And I'm also going to talk about the dynamics of this idea cheating or not cheating, exercising options or not exercising options. I'm also going to talk about how it has been during old times, actually, in history, in different religions, in different cultures. I'm going to bring that up. What I'm doing is sharing understanding. What you choose to do in your relationship is definitely yours. And to be honest, a lot of women are already sharing men without even having any issue with it, right? There's so many women who are willingly part of the rotation where they are sleeping with a guy who is, the cool guy. He's known everywhere, the party guy. He's not really committed, but you just like the idea that you're one of his chicks and you believe that, oh, you can change him because you're giving him sexual entertainment, but that's not going to change him. And whenever he wants, he calls you up. But, there are some women that would never stick to a guy who is showing them care and love and affection and who is stable in his life. They would never do that because that is equal to boring, but instead they would keep pursuing the guy who is showing that he's not meant to be in a relationship, at least for that part, because his actions are showing that. So there are so many women who are already choosing to be in that kind of position. It's only shocking to them when they actually hear it. Oh, I am a guy and I can do this and I bring that to the table and I want to exercise options of dealing with multiple women. Then they don't want to hear it. But if you look at the lives that they're living, they are already participating in that kind of nonsense, if you want to call it, because you're willingly giving your body to somebody who's not committed to you, who you know that he's having multiple women outside because he's this party guy. I mean, I don't know. They call it liberation. They call it empowerment. So at the end of the day, people need to learn that they do what they want to do, and whatever you choose to do comes with certain consequence, right? I'm definitely going to talk about that soon. And also this idea of women in the future might have to get used to, not all women, but a lot of women might have to get used to the idea of possibly sharing a man. Because if you look at the data, if you look at what is going on online dating platforms, which I've talked about in early episodes, I don't really agree with it. Not saying it doesn't work, but if you look at the numbers, it doesn't work for a majority of people. It's a cycle of, playing around. It's a cycle of women actually looking for the same guy, and that is also what is happening in real world. In the real world, there's this pool of women, and they're all attracted to the same guy. He needs to be this, he needs to be that, he needs to make that type of money. But if you think about it, there are only so many around. So if that's what you want, if you're not going to, as they like to say, settle, right? Because they're these top women with unachievable high standards. They're not going to settle for a so-called average man. They're looking for the top 10, top 5 guys, which everyone is looking for. Then, logically thinking about it, you might have to then follow the idea, which is actually settling for me, if you think about it, to be one of his rotation, right? You might have to get used to the idea of sharing a man with 3, 4, 5 other women because you all want the same guy. He can provide for all of you. He brings that to the table. You're not looking to go somewhere else. That might be your outcome. So let's get back to the topic. The juicy part about this is when the host said, look, what if he's making 10 million a year and he looks at you and say, you know what? Once or twice a year, I'm going to be traveling. And you know what that means, right? It's an understanding. This is actually something she's going to be well aware of when he says, I'm going here and there, but I made this kind of money this year. I'm going to buy you this. I'm going to spoil you. You're going to get a new house. I'm going to, travel all over the place. You can do and have whatever you want. But sometimes once or twice in a year, I'm going to be with another woman. And you saw her reaction. She was so quick to say, yeah, everything comes with a price as long as I'm driving a G-Wagon. So this is not to judge this woman. This is not this woman. This is not to downgrade her. This is actually just a great example to show what I'm trying to get to, how women would rather, and even if this is just one, but if you look out there, you're going to find a lot of them who are willing to look the other way if the status and the financial security of that man is big enough that she doesn't need to care. She's not even interested that much in the other women. She's not trying to stress or fight for that. The only thing she's trying to secure is her being taken care of, her being able to spend money, her being able to flash the money around, driving the most expensive car, make herself feel good, make other women feel envious, whatever the case may be. That is what is actually important to her and to most women. They are definitely going to look away if the guy has enough to show for. And you might argue, oh, women are women are hypergamous. Yes, to a certain extent we are, but this is not hypergamy anymore. This is just women's mindset nowadays, because hypergamy, I can definitely talk about that as well. But hypergamy and what is going on nowadays, to me, are two different worlds. These are women who have swallowed the mindset of being a city girl, this wannabe strong and independent. You need to secure the bag. It's all about money. Oh, I don't care. These are women who would actually do anything and everything just to have a flashy lifestyle, a lifestyle that they cannot provide for themselves, a lifestyle that is actually quite utopia. So they would follow along everything. So if you look at it and you see some women saying, oh no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, I can never accept that. You just need to be a big baller, if I can say it like that. And they would most likely follow it. And as I said, starting on this episode, these are not all women. There are women who have different mindset, different values, and these are also not all men. I'm not trying to say that all men who have money are going to do that or are going to expect you as a woman living with these conditions. Nobody said that, but this is a general understanding of what is going on nowadays, what is going on in life, and I hope you guys enjoy. See you in the next one. Bye.